My ex wants me to pay for her kids, even after she starved mine. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and what I'm about to say might make some people label me as heartless, but I need to know if I'm really the bad guy here. I used to be married to a woman named Marin. We're both 30 now. We had a son together. He's 8 years old today. But back when she was pregnant, I found out she had been cheating on me with a guy named James. James was 33, and surprise twist, his girlfriend was also pregnant at the same time. Yeah, it was a mess. When our son was born, things got even messier. We had to get a DNA test just to figure out whether I or James was the biological father. As Marin's husband at the time, I was listed as the legal father, which ended up being helpful when the results proved that the baby was mine. Even though Marin fought like hell to have James named the father, legally and biologically, he was mine. But that fight told me everything I needed to know about what she wanted. Chaos. To make things worse, I wasn't even told when my son was born. Marin had shut me out completely. I only found out through her parents, who still had enough decency to keep me in the loop. Thanks to that, I was able to file for a DNA test and custody. And just like that, my son's birth triggered our divorce proceedings. No surprise there. Fast forward, James ends up getting full custody of his daughter from his ex, and not long after, he and Marin were raising his daughter, my son, who was with them 50% of the time, and then they had another kid together. Eventually, they had 4 kids under their roof, his daughter, my son, and 2 more of their own. Yep, 4 kids. But here's the kicker. Marin and James were using their parenting time with my son to squeeze more money out of me. How? By feeding him poorly, dressing him in stained, worn-out clothes, and basically neglecting him. All while I was still paying child support because I earned more, even though we technically had equal parenting time. After documenting enough of the neglect, I finally won primary custody about 3.5 years ago. That was one of the hardest fights I've ever been through. Now, Marin only sees our son every other weekend. I got him into therapy. The kid's been through way too much, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure he grows up okay. Marin? She was ordered to pay a small amount of child support. I'm talking peanuts. And guess what? She's barely paid anything. She always claims she can't afford it. I've never pushed her on it. I earn enough to care for my son, and I'd rather focus on him than chase pennies from someone who doesn't even show up emotionally or financially. But here's where things start to get really frustrating. For the past 2 years, Marin has been asking me, expecting me actually, to buy extra school supplies. Not for my son, no, for her other 2 school-age daughters. One is James's daughter, and the other is theirs. I've always ignored her requests. I make sure my son has everything he needs and even donate supplies to his class, but I've never once bought anything for the other kids in her house. Why would I? Then 2 weeks ago, my son had a minor surgery. Marin showed up, and instead of being focused on him, she corners me to talk about school supplies again. She actually says, "Can't you just be decent and help out? We can't afford supplies for the girls, and it's hurting them." I tried to step away, but she followed me, so I snapped. I told her flat out that I don't care if she and James can't afford their other kids, they're not mine. I told her to figure it out on her own. I reminded her that she once let our son go hungry just to try and bleed more money from me, and that's why she lost custody. I told her my only concern is our son, not the kids she keeps choosing to have. Then I said I wouldn't discuss it with her ever again. Since then, she's flooded the court-mandated co-parenting app with messages calling me selfish, heartless, a bad father, you name it. My lawyer saw everything and told me to keep ignoring her, which I have. I know this won't affect her visitation. It's nearly impossible to change unless my son says he doesn't want to see her anymore, or CPS gets involved. So now I'm asking, am I the asshole for telling her it's not my problem if she can't afford to raise her other kids?